Hey guys, well, a bit of maintenance day on the ute. I had a wheel bearing fail the other day, so while I'm replacing the hubs, I've got some new rotors and disc pads to put in at the same time. Before fitting it all, just going to paint the sides of the hub, centre of the disc here, just so it doesn't go all rusty and manky looking after a couple of months, and also paint the edges of the rotor. So anyway, I'll get this masked up and get on with it. That's masked up now. I'll just run this craft knife around the edge, trim off the masking tape and quickly chuck some paint on. Quickly put some more tape on there and there though. So it's ready to paint. On the top here, you don't want a thick coat or anything. I'm giving it a very light dusting to try and prevent some rust in the future. Not that anyone will see it anyway, but if you put a thick coat on here, it can cause dramas. When your wheels bolted onto it, it may not be even or seat evenly and give you some wheel balance issues, alignment issues, or even worse, if the paint, because it's the thick layer, crushes, your wheel nuts could come loose. So that's only going to get a very light dusting on it. We'll just put a bit thicker on the sides here, and we're right to go. There you have it. There's the first coat. It's only very light, basically just to protect it. I'm not fussed if it does rust down the track, but I'd like it to look nice for a little while anyway. So I've got one I've done earlier, so I'll go grab some tools and get stuck into it. So I've got the wheel off, just pulled the two caliper bolts out. The disc pretty much slides straight off then. Sometimes they get rusted onto the hub here, but here's the issue with the old hub. It has a lovely grinding noise in it. No players yet, but it was letting me know it's just about fucked. So there's three 10mm Allen bolts going through the back, and I've got the set there to remove those. We'll have a look at it in just a second. So the bolts are one down there, and one on the back. The tools you'll want, don't go using normal Allen keys because you're going to have a bad time. I've got this King Chrome adapter set for the 1/2" drive breaker bar, and when you go to undo these, you really want to make sure that the Allen key head is nice and clean and you get this seated properly. Otherwise you'll chop it out and have a really awful time trying to get these out, because these have got thread locker on them from the factory. Someone's replaced it in the past, this one anyway, because it's nice and silver still, but I suspect it was a cheap generic part. Whether they've used it or not when they've put it back together is another thing. So anyway, we're going to use thread locker on the new one. So that's it removed. It's the back side, front side. Now what I'm wanting to do, so I'll just grab a wire brush and clean off all this dirt and shit, so when we bolt the new one on, there's nothing to stop it mounting flushly. Like, it technically could probably jam it on now and it'd avoid these dirt patches, but you know, irregularities in the casting, just don't want to risk it. I do a lot of miles, so I want it to last as long as possible. They have used thread locker on the hub at least. Let's look at the bolts here, so we'll put some back on there when we reassemble it. New hub, old hub, it's all cleaned up. So we'll put this on and go and grab one of our new brake discs and see how we go. The 3 bolts there, from memory, the torque figure is something like 110 Newton meters, or it could be foot-pounds. I'll have to double check that, but anyway, any time I've ever done these, I just get them as tight as I can, within reason. You don't want to snap them either. Anyway, we'll get it back together. One thing to note, make sure there is an O-ring to seal off the middle of the hub on your new one, otherwise you might need to use your old one. Otherwise water and stuff gets built up in the middle there and just makes a good old mess. That's installed and all tightened up now. Just got to go and get a new disc, some new pads, and we're right to go. That's all this side completed. I'll put a little bit of grease on the hub there to hopefully stop some of the rust building up. New pads. Should have painted the caliper, but haven't really got time today. In the past I've replaced the struts. They're only 2 years old. I couldn't get new boots at the time, so I reused the old ones, but they've come apart. And replaced all the bushes with polyurethane over the years, but they don't look so new anymore. Had to get the new genuine washer bottle, because every second-hand one I looked at was just as bad as the old one. They're all just going brittle and buggered. All in all, it's holding together quite well, particularly for a car that's basically supposed to do a lot of highway work, and it just spends most of its time off-road on bullshit tracks. So anyway, we'll get this wheel back on and it's finished. So time for a quick road test. We'll see how it goes. Make sure we've got some brake pressure. I suppose we'll just check it a couple of times in the driveway first. Beautiful. No worries. Go for a quick run around the block. This is so good now, it's got fucking barely any road noise. I've been putting up with it for years with warped rotor, and all you could hear was woof 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 everywhere you went. And just being a miserable cunt, I never replaced it, but it was worth every cent. I think the total cost of the whole project was about $230. Anyway, we'll get home and have a look. A little bit of smoke from the oil and shit that was on the new disc burning off, but got them pretty hot. They'll bed in nicely over a bit of time. It was off for rego next week anyway, so it needed to be done, but quite happy. Yeah, I've been putting up with a warped rotor for so long that started breaking in on the outside there. Has on the inside as well. Yeah, we'll see how that settles out. I've lubed up all the caliper pins and stuff too, so I'll just be getting flattened out. All good. So the hub that had actually failed was this one, and it's only, I think, 3 or 4 years old. And here's the factory original one, which is 17 years old, and it's still actually good, but I'm going to throw it in the bin anyway, because if I keep it as a spare on the shelf, if I have another failure, I only end up throwing that back in, ordering a new part, and the new part will sit in the shed for ages. I won't actually replace it, so if I throw it away, I can't use it again, and I have to go and get new ones. These rotors were only a couple of years old, but I've done a lot of towing, a lot of pretty horrible driving down dirt roads and that, so they're scrap already, and they were only really cheap, nasty ones. I think these ones cost me $70 a pair with the pads, where the new ones I've got cost me about $140. I splashed out a little bit on it, and I think being cheap, nasty ones may be the reason they warped. Anyway, thanks for watching, and as you can see, a couple 100 kilometres later, everything's wearing in nicely. Kind of buggered up on where I should have mastered off. Missed by about 3 millimeters, but what the heck, doesn't matter. Alright, thanks for watching.